I'm Elizabeth, a literary princess, and today I am doing my May wrap-up. April was a great month, 15 books. May, we've gone back to 5 books. I was just really not feeling like reading in May. Or I guess I should say, I was really not feeling like reading what I was supposed to be reading, because there are several books on here that I was not supposed to be reading that I had a great time with. Or that I had won't call it a great time with, but you'll see what I mean. Anyway, let's jump into the 5 books that I read in May. First up is that one that I was like, did I have a great time with it? This is So Happy For You by Celia Lasky. Okay, this was a really bad book. It was so bad. I knew going into it that it was bad. I saw Emma over on the channel Emmy read it, and she was like, wow, this is a really bad book. But the premise is that it's kind of a near future where the wedding culture in the United States has just gotten even more out of control than it already is. Hi, Butters. You're not supposed to be here. So wedding culture is just really out of control. Brides do insane things to try to make their wedding perfect so that their marriage will last, but it goes very, very wrong. Our main character, Robin, is asked to be the maid of honor in her best friend Ellie's wedding. They have been friends for a really long time, but they have gone through some ups and downs. Robin is a lesbian getting her PhD in women's studies, and she is very anti-marriage, whereas Ellie has been very, very obsessed with finding someone to settle down with. And we know right off the bat that by the end of this wedding, these two try to kill each other. So that's not a spoiler, it's like the first sentence. So even though Emma said it was bad, I was like, I kind of want to see it just because I got married last year and like wedding culture is kind of crazy, but I was really interested to just see what this did with it because it sounded funny, to be honest. And it was. I read this in 3 hours. I sat on my couch for an afternoon with my cat sitting on my lap. It was like a nice sunny afternoon. Sun was coming in through my window, and I just read this in 3 hours. I had a good time with it. Like, it was entertaining as all hell. However, that does not mean it was a good book. And in fact, this is a very bad book in terms of like being a book. Like, you know, the writing was really bad. Of course, this is all my opinion. If you liked it, then you do you. I personally thought that it was a very bad book. I thought the writing was very bad. I thought the pacing was very off. Some stuff just didn't make any sense. Like, there's a scene where a character is having an allergic reaction and she uses her EpiPen. And then she was like, okay, it's fine. No, if you have to use your EpiPen, you go to the hospital, because the EpiPen is just to get you through until you get to the hospital. But no, she just carries on like everything's fine. It's like, okay. I will say there were some things about this book that I really liked. The first one is that we had this very insufferable, unlikable main character narrator, Robin. But she realizes her mistakes. So this is told as her looking back on it. And she realizes that she was insufferable. So like a lot of times I'll be like, wow, I hated this main character and she was super annoying, so the book was bad. She was super annoying and I hated her. But the fact that she was self-aware and she actually goes through a character arc, I did appreciate that. Now, she's still insufferable and awful, I will say. And so is her friend. So is Ellie. They are both insufferable and awful. Ugh. But the book follows the build up to the wedding, and as things kind of get more and more tense, especially on the wedding weekend. And we also get these flashbacks to their friendship and how it developed. I think though that it would have been better if we had started the book at the beginning of the wedding weekend and not when Ellie asks Robin to be her bride or her maid of honor, because it just made the pacing feel so strange. So to have it start with the wedding weekend and then we're getting flashbacks both to their childhoods and to other parts of this journey, we'll call it, I think would have been better. But the one other thing that I really did appreciate is that this looks at a long-term friendship kind of breaking up. And that is something that we see so very rarely, especially with childhood best friends. We always see them as being like friends forever, or if there is a problem, it gets sorted out by the end. So I really appreciated that we were seeing the deterioration of this relationship. Now, the end of the book pissed me off because it took all that back. I will say, spoiler, without really being spoilery. So I really appreciated seeing this breakup of a friendship, but then the end, it's like Lasky chickened out almost and backtracked, and that pissed me off. But I did appreciate seeing that because I think that is a thing a lot of people go through, especially in their late 20s and their 30s, is kind of realizing they've outgrown relationships. So I just really appreciated that. However, it was still a really bad book. I gave this book 1.5 stars. The half star is for the fact that it entertained me for 3 hours, and I appreciated a book looking at the breakup of a friendship, but I could not give it any higher than that because it was so poorly written. It's really bad. Anyway, I've been babbling on about this book for way too long. Let's move on. The next one is actually a bind up of 2 novellas. So since it's a bind up, I've just rated them together, and I felt they both had the same rating for me anyway. So this is The Mystery of Mrs. Blencarrow and Queen Eleanor and Fair Rosamond by Margaret Oliphant in the beautiful Persephone Classic Edition, which I have been showing off lately. I really enjoyed both of these. I gave the whole collection 4.5 stars. I think they would each both be 4.5 stars from me. These are both looking at difficulties in Victorian marriages, and not early on in the marriage, but later in the marriage. Both of the main characters of these stories are middle-aged. So that was super interesting to see. Honestly, my only complaint, I wanted them to be longer. I was like, each one of these could have been a full book, and I would have just been happily going along. I really enjoyed these, as I've enjoyed everything by Margaret Oliphant that I have read so far. But yeah, excellent collection. Really good. Next up was another fun read. I've got only 2 serious reads for this month, one which you just saw, and then they're surrounded by fun reads. This is The Stolen Heir by Holly Black. This is her follow-up to the Folk of the Air trilogy, and it is focusing on Surin, who is called Wren, who is the former Queen of the Court of Teeth. We met her in the final book, The Queen of Nothing, and this is following her a few years after the events of The Queen of Nothing. I really enjoyed this. I gave this 4.5 stars. I don't quite like it as much as I liked the Folk of the Air trilogy, but I really liked Surin as a main character, and I just had a great time with it, as I always do with Holly Black books. Holly Black pretty much never disappoints me. Next one is from the library, and it has no cover. This is Becoming a Woman of Letters, Myths of Authorship and Facts of the Victorian Market by Linda H. Peterson. I was reading this for my dissertation, and it was super helpful. It gave me names of a ton of other scholars and books that I need to look at. And there is a whole chapter on Charlotte Rydell, who I am looking at in my dissertation, and there's very little work on Rydell, so this was perfect. I was so glad to have this. I gave this 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. It's going to be so helpful to me. And then the final book that I read is Mortal Follies by Alexis Hall. I had an arc of this, and this was so fun. I gave this 5 stars. Holy crap, I had a great time. It is set in an alternate magical Regency era, and we are following Maelys Mitchellmore as she goes through the season in Bath, but her dress begins to just disintegrate at a ball, leaving her in nothing but her corset and her petticoats. And this is a very awkward situation to be in. She is hiding out in the garden. And along comes Lady Georgiana Landrake, who is kind of disparagingly called the Duke of Annandale because her father and brothers all died under mysterious circumstances, leaving her with a huge fortune, and people think that she used witchcraft to do that. So the Duke of Annandale helps Maelys, and this begins a kind of partnership between them as they try to figure out who is trying to target Maelys and how have they done it and how can it be stopped. This book was so much fun. Oh my god. So it's like Bridgerton with magic and queer characters, because obviously Maelys and the Duke of Annandale start getting feelings for each other. It's great. It's great. Also, what I love about it is it's told from the perspective of Puck. Yes, Puck from A Midsummer Night's Dream is our narrator. He goes around like collecting stories because he's bored. I don't know. And he gets interested in these two and starts following them around to see this unfold. So it's really interesting because we have this narrator that isn't actually part of the plot, but who is witnessing everything and who has all this knowledge of the behind the scenes stuff that the other characters don't really have, because he's aware of all the magical stuff that's going on, whereas some of them aren't as aware. So this was so great. I had so much fun. 5 stars. So I'm definitely going to be checking out more of Hall's books, and I'm super excited too. So that is everything that I read in May. Let me know down in the comments, what did you read in May? Have you read any of these? What did you think? It has been great chatting with you. I will see you soon. Bye.